It's been 11 days since I closed David Harper's case. 11 days since the third set of remains was recovered from beneath the Harper cabin. 11 days since I realized Mr. Grins wasn't hiding the Harper family. He was releasing them, one at a time, on his schedule. Not mine. Rain hammered the windows of my office while I stood in front of the filing cabinets. The room felt smaller than it used to, maybe because there was only one file left. I unlocked the cabinet labeled closed. 3 folders rested inside. Ethan Harper, Lily Harper, David Harper. 3 members of the same family. 3 victims. Or at least that's what I had always believed. I closed the drawer. Then I turned toward the cabinet labeled open. Only 1 folder remained. For several seconds I simply stared at it. The final Harper case. The final unanswered question. The last person who vanished. I reached inside. The tab read, Case File 004. Emily Harper. My hand tightened around the folder. Somewhere deep down, I already knew this case would be different. I carried the file back to my desk. The photograph clipped to the front showed Emily Harper standing on the porch of the family cabin. Unlike the photographs of David, Ethan, or Lily, Emily wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking toward the woods, toward Grinning Pines. And for the first time, something bothered me. She didn't look afraid. She looked familiar, as though she recognized something standing among the trees. I opened the file. Most of it looked exactly like the others. Interviews, search reports, witness statements, dead ends. Then I found something unusual. A supplemental report added months after the family disappeared. The report had been buried deep within the file, almost hidden. A single witness statement. The witness claimed to have seen Emily Harper alone in the forest several weeks before anyone vanished. The statement had been dismissed. Reason: witness unreliable. I read the statement again. The witness claimed Emily had been standing at the edge of Grinning Pines just after midnight. Not walking, not searching, standing. According to the report, she appeared to be speaking to someone. When the witness called her name, Emily turned, smiled, and told him to leave. The witness refused. Then he claimed to see another figure standing among the trees behind her. The report ended there. No follow-up, no investigation, nothing. 3 slow knocks echoed through my office. I didn't even look up. The knocks had become part of my life. Instead, I kept reading. The witness had given one final statement before leaving town. A statement investigators never bothered exploring. She wasn't talking to him. It looked like she was listening. I sat back in my chair, listening. Not speaking. Listening. My phone rang. Unknown caller. I answered immediately. Silence. Then the familiar voice.
You're opening the last one.
Emily. Yes. What happened to her? A long pause followed, longer than usual. Then the voice spoke.
You're still asking the wrong question.
I closed my eyes. What should I ask? The answer chilled me.
Ask what she did.
The line went dead. For several seconds I remained motionless. Not what happened to her. What she did. No one had ever suggested Emily Harper was anything but another victim. Not the police, not the witnesses, not even me. Yet Mr. Grins had just pointed me in a different direction, and for the first time since opening the Harper files, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Dread. An hour later I was driving toward Grinning Pines. The road felt different now. Not because it had changed, because I had. 3 cases earlier, I believe the Harper family shared the same fate. Now, I wasn't so sure. The cabin appeared through the trees just before sunset. I parked, stepped out, and froze. Someone was standing on the porch. A woman. Long dark hair. White dress. Motionless. Watching me. My heart stopped. I blinked. The porch was empty. The figure was gone. Only the front door remained, swaying gently. Open. I climbed the steps slowly. For the first time in months, I didn't want to go inside. Because somewhere between David's file and Emily's file, the investigation had changed. This was no longer a story about a missing family. It was a story about a secret. And deep down I was beginning to suspect Emily Harper had taken that secret into the woods long before anyone disappeared. I stood on the porch for nearly a minute. The woman was gone. 1 second, she had been standing there. The next, the porch was empty. I told myself it had been a trick of the light, a shadow, a reflection, but I knew better. Grinning Pines had taught me long ago that not everything could be explained. The front door swayed slowly on its hinges. Waiting, I stepped inside. The cabin felt colder than usual. Not physically colder, different, as though something had changed while I was away. The familiar layout stretched before me. The dining room, the living room, the hallway. I knew every inch of this place. 3 investigations had taken me through these rooms. 3 recoveries had brought forensic teams back here. Yet tonight, the house felt unfamiliar, like a stranger pretending to be someone I knew. I switched on my recorder. Case file 004. Emily Harper. Day 1. Upon arrival, I observed what appeared to be an adult female standing on the front porch. I paused. No subject located upon approach. The words sounded ridiculous, yet they were true. I clipped the recorder back to my belt, then noticed something resting on the dining room table. A photograph. 1 photograph. Nothing else. I picked it up. The image showed Emily Harper standing beside the tree line. The photograph was old. Years old. Yet the date written on the back stopped me cold. It had been taken 3 weeks before Ethan disappeared. 3 weeks. Before everything began, I turned the photograph over. Written beneath the date was 6 words.
This is where she first listened.
I stared at the sentence. Listened. The same word from the witness statement. I spread Emily's file across the table. For the next hour, I reviewed every report again. Most repeated information I already knew. Then I found something I'd missed. Not because it was hidden, because it seemed insignificant. A park ranger's report. Filed 6 months before the disappearances. The ranger documented multiple complaints from hikers. Several claimed they had seen a woman walking through Grinning Pines late at night. Always alone. Always heading deeper into the forest. The description matched Emily Harper. The report included 1 additional detail. Every witness described Emily carrying a lantern. Not a flashlight, a lantern. I frowned. That mattered. The Harper cabin had no working lanterns when investigators searched it. I knew because I'd catalogued everything myself. If Emily carried one, it had never been recovered, which meant it was still somewhere in Grinning Pines. Or someone had taken it. My phone rang. Unknown caller, I answered. The familiar voice spoke immediately.
Did you find the photograph?
Yes.
Good.
What was she listening to?
You're getting closer.
What was she doing in the forest?
Looking.
Looking for what?
Me.
The call ended. The room suddenly felt much smaller. I looked at Emily's photograph again. For years I had assumed Mr. Grins found the Harper family. What if that wasn't true? What if Emily found him? The thought sent a chill down my spine. Not because it made sense, because it explained too much. The witness statement, the midnight walks, the listening, the photographs. Emily wasn't wandering. She was searching. A floorboard creaked upstairs. I froze. The sound came from the master bedroom, David and Emily's room. Slowly, I climbed the staircase. Every step groaned beneath my weight. At the end of the hallway, the bedroom door stood open. I knew I'd left it closed. Inside, the room appeared untouched, until I saw the bed. Something lay on top of it. An old brass lantern. My pulse quickened. The metal was tarnished with age. The glass was cracked. Yet it matched the description from the ranger reports perfectly. I approached carefully. A folded note hung from the handle. The handwriting was elegant, familiar.
She carried this every night. She thought it would protect her.
I picked up the lantern. It felt surprisingly heavy, and something rattled inside. I opened the fuel compartment. Instead of oil, I found a folded piece of paper hidden within. The paper was yellow with age. The handwriting was different. Not Mr. Grins, not David's, Emily's. The note contained only one sentence. One sentence that changed everything.
If you're reading this, I should have left the forest alone.
For the first time since opening Emily Harper's file, I wasn't wondering what happened to her. I was wondering what she found. And somewhere deep in Grinning Pines, I had a feeling the answer was waiting for me. I read Emily's note 3 times. If you're reading this, I should have left the forest alone. The handwriting matched signatures elsewhere in her file. It was genuine. Years had passed since she vanished, yet for the first time, I felt as though I was hearing her voice directly. Not through a witness, not through a report. Emily Harper was trying to tell me something. The question was whether she had written the note before everything started, or after. I slipped the paper into an evidence sleeve and returned to the dining room. The lantern sat heavily in my hand. The ranger reports suddenly felt much more important. Emily hadn't wandered into Grinning Pines once. She'd gone back repeatedly, night after night, always carrying this lantern, always alone. People don't do that without a reason, especially not in a forest with a reputation like Grinning Pines. I spread the ranger reports across the table. For the next hour, I highlighted every mention of Emily. Most witnesses described the same thing: a woman walking deeper into the woods, a lantern glowing between the trees. Then one report caught my attention. The ranger had interviewed a hunter who encountered Emily less than 2 weeks before Ethan disappeared. Unlike the others, he had actually spoken to her. According to his statement, Emily appeared exhausted, terrified. The hunter asked if she was lost. She answered immediately.
No. I'm late.
I read the sentence again. Late, not lost. The hunter asked if she needed help. Emily reportedly looked toward the trees and shook her head. Then she said something that had never made sense to investigators.
If I stop going, he'll come closer.
I leaned back in my chair. The room suddenly felt colder. For years, I had assumed Mr. Grins chose the Harper family. What if Emily believed she was keeping him away? The thought refused to leave me. Every witness described her returning to the forest, not because she wanted to, because she felt she had to. My phone rang. Unknown caller. I answered immediately. The familiar voice spoke.
You're finally listening.
What did Emily find?
She found a path.
What path?
The same one you're walking.
Did she bring you to her family?
No.
Then why them?
Wrong question.
The call disconnected. I stared at the phone. Not what happened to Emily. Not where Emily was. Not even why the Harper family. There was another question I still wasn't asking, and Mr. Grins knew it. I returned upstairs and examined the lantern more carefully. A small engraving had been hidden beneath years of grime. I scraped away the dirt. Coordinates. My pulse quickened. Someone had carved geographic coordinates into the base of the lantern. I immediately entered them into my mapping software. The location appeared deep inside Grinning Pines, far beyond the areas searched during Ethan, Lily, or David's investigations. Far beyond the Harper property. I froze. The coordinates weren't near the cabin, not even close. For the first time since opening a Harper case, the trail wasn't leading back to the house. It was leading away from it, toward the heart of the forest, toward a place no investigation had ever reached. I grabbed my flashlight, recorder, and camera. Then I left the cabin behind. The hike took nearly 2 hours. The deeper I traveled, the older the forest became. The trees grew larger, the underbrush thicker. Even the air felt different. The trail eventually disappeared altogether. Yet somehow, I knew I was still moving in the right direction. The coordinates continued pulling me forward. Then I saw the first marker. A lantern hanging from a tree branch. Old, rusted, dead. A second lantern appeared 50 yards later. Then a third. Then a fourth. Dozens of them hung among the trees. Every lantern faced the same direction, leading deeper into Grinning Pines, leading toward something or someone. I switched on my recorder. Case file 04. Multiple lanterns, located approximately 4 miles beyond the Harper property. I looked around. The forest had become completely silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. Then I noticed writing carved into one of the lanterns. The letters were worn with age, but still readable. I traced them with my fingers. My stomach tightened. The carving read,
Emily was here. And so was I.
I didn't need anyone to tell me who had written the second message. The coordinates led me into a circular clearing. The moment I stepped inside, every lantern surrounding the area began swaying gently. There was no wind, yet dozens of lanterns moved at once. In the center of the clearing stood a stone marker. Not a gravestone, not exactly, just a single slab of weathered rock. Carved into the surface were 6 words.
She asked the wrong question first.
For the first time since opening Emily Harper's file, I realized something that chilled me more than anything I'd discovered before. Emily hadn't stumbled across Mr. Grins. She'd been searching for something, and whatever she found out here, it found her back. I stood in the clearing staring at the stone marker. She asked the wrong question first. The lanterns continued swaying around me, dozens of them, maybe more. Their rusted frames creaked softly in the darkness. No wind touched the trees. No animals moved through the brush. The entire forest seemed to be holding its breath, waiting, just like it had been waiting for Emily. I approached the stone carefully. The surface was weathered, but not naturally. Someone had touched it repeatedly over the years. The center had been worn smooth, almost polished. I ran my flashlight across the base. More writing, smaller, older. The letters were difficult to read. I knelt and brushed away dirt and moss. Then my stomach tightened. The words weren't carved by the same hand as the message above. This inscription was rough, uneven, desperate, and I recognized the handwriting. Emily Harper. The message read,
I didn't believe him until I saw it.
Beneath that,
If anyone finds this, leave.
my pulse quickened. For months, I had been reading messages from Mr. Grins. This was different. This was fear. Real fear. Emily had left this warning for someone. Maybe for herself. Maybe for me. I photographed everything. The stone. The carving. The lanterns. Then I noticed something else. Footprints. Old ones. Hundreds of them. Pressed into the earth surrounding the marker. Some were barely visible. Others looked decades old. All of them led toward the stone. None led away. I stared at the ground. That wasn't possible. People leave footprints when they arrive. They leave more when they leave. Not here. My phone rang. Unknown caller. I answered immediately. For several seconds, there was only static. Then the familiar voice.
Did you find it?
The stone.
Yes.
What did Emily see? Silence. Longer than usual. Then.
She saw what comes after.
What does that mean?
She asked the same thing.
The call ended. The words echoed inside my head. What comes after? After what? Death? Disappearance? Mr. Grins? I looked back at the stone. For years I had treated every clue as part of a mystery. What if this wasn't a mystery? What if Emily had discovered an answer? And what if the answer was the reason her family paid the price? The thought made my skin crawl. I searched the clearing for nearly an hour. The lanterns stretched far beyond the tree line. Each one carried markings, dates, initials, names. Most had faded with time. Some were unreadable. Then I found one that wasn't. The lantern hung lower than the others. Fresh scratches marked the metal. One word had been carved deeply into the frame. Daniel. I froze. My flashlight suddenly flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Then darkness swallowed the clearing. I stood motionless. The forest became completely silent. Then I heard footsteps. Not behind me. Ahead of me. Someone was walking deeper into the woods. The sound was slow. Deliberate. As though they wanted me to follow. Against every instinct, I did. The footsteps continued for several minutes. Always just beyond my flashlight beam. Always ahead. Never visible. The lanterns grew more numerous. The trees thicker. Then the footsteps stopped. My light settled on a massive oak tree. The trunk was wider than my office. Its bark had been carved thousands of times. Names, dates, messages, warnings. I stepped closer. My breath caught in my throat. Near the center of the trunk were 4 names. One beneath another. Ethan Harper, Lily Harper, David Harper. Then several feet below them, Emily Harper. Unlike the others, Emily's name wasn't completed. The final letter looked unfinished, as though whoever carved it had stopped midway through, or been interrupted. I touched the carving. The wood felt strangely warm. Then I noticed another name, directly beneath Emily's, newer than the rest, much newer. The cuts looked fresh. My flashlight trembled as I read it. Daniel Mercer. For several seconds I couldn't breathe. The carving couldn't have been old. It hadn't existed before. I knew it hadn't. Someone had cut it into the tree recently. Very recently. And they had left room beneath it. A folded piece of paper protruded from a crack in the bark. I pulled it free. The handwriting was elegant, familiar. Mr. Grins. The note contained only one sentence. One sentence that chilled me more than anything I'd found in the Harper files.
You're closer to your file than hers.
The lanterns around me began swaying again. Slowly. Together. As if responding to something approaching through the forest, I backed away from the tree. For the first time since beginning the Harper investigations, I felt genuinely uncertain. Not about Emily, Not about Mr. Grins, about myself. Because standing beneath that tree, staring at my own name carved beneath the Harper family, I finally understood something. Mr. Grins wasn't preparing me to find Emily Harper. He was preparing me for whatever happened after I did. And somewhere in the darkness, beyond the lanterns, I had a feeling Emily already knew that. I couldn't stop staring at my name, Daniel Mercer, freshly carved beneath the Harper family, beneath Ethan, beneath Lily, beneath David, and beneath Emily. The lanterns swayed around me in slow unison, while the note remained clenched in my hand. You're closer to your file than hers. For the first time in years I considered leaving. Not because I was afraid of Mr. Grins, because I was beginning to understand him. The realization disturbed me more than anything else. Every Harper case had followed the same pattern, a clue, a trail, a discovery. Mr. Grins never prevented me from finding the truth. He delivered it, exactly when he wanted, exactly where he wanted. The question wasn't whether he was manipulating the investigation. The question was why. Why spend years guiding me through the Harper files? Why me? I returned to the stone marker. The clearing felt different now. Smaller. The lanterns seemed closer than before, as if the forest itself were narrowing around me. I examined the base of the stone again. This time I found a narrow crack running through the center. Something had been hidden inside. I wedged my knife into the opening and carefully pried it apart. A small metal box slid free, covered in rust, sealed tight. My pulse quickened. The box wasn't old. At least not as old as it appeared. The rust had been applied deliberately, artificially. Someone wanted it to look ancient. I opened it. Inside sat a leather-bound journal. The cover carried a single name, Emily Harper. I stared at it. This wasn't a note. This wasn't a message. This was her story. I opened the journal carefully. The first entries were normal. Family notes, shopping lists, weather observations, nothing unusual. Then the tone changed. The entries became shorter, more focused. Emily wrote about hearing whistles in the woods at night, seeing lights between the trees, finding symbols carved into bark. I recognized every detail, because years later I had seen them too. I turned another page. The date stopped me cold. It was nearly a year before Ethan disappeared. Emily wrote,
I found the place today.
The next line was underlined 3 times.
I should not have gone looking.
My heart pounded, not because of what she wrote, because of what it confirmed. Emily had been searching for something long before Mr. Grins entered the official story. Page after page revealed the same pattern. Emily became obsessed. She returned to the forest constantly. She documented strange carvings, unexplained voices, lanterns hanging from trees. Then one entry changed everything. The handwriting shook across the page, as though written by someone struggling to hold the pen steady. The entry contained only 4 words.
I spoke to him.
I read the next pages as quickly as I could. Emily never described Mr. Grins directly. Instead, she wrote about questions, hundreds of questions. Questions about death, questions about disappearance, questions about what waits beyond the things people understand. She wasn't trying to avoid Grinning Pines. She was investigating it, just like me. The difference was that she started first. Then I reached the final complete entry. The date was 1 week before Ethan vanished. The words seemed burned into the page.
I asked him if what he showed me was real. He said yes. I asked what happens after. He told me every answer has a price.
I slowly lowered the journal. The clearing felt colder. The forest felt darker. Not because of what Mr. Grins had done, because of what Emily had done. She wasn't chosen at random. She wasn't hunted by accident. She went searching for answers. And she found something that answered back. My phone rang. Unknown caller. I already knew who it was, I answered. The familiar voice spoke immediately.
Do you understand now?
Emily found you.
Yes.
That's why the Harper family suffered.
No, not suffered. You still think this is punishment.
Then what is it?
Consequences.
I looked down at Emily's journal, at her warnings, at her questions, at the obsession that had consumed her. Then I asked the question I should have asked from the beginning. What did Emily see? The silence lasted nearly 10 seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded different, almost respectful.
Enough.
The line disconnected. I stared at the dark phone screen. Then I looked back toward the lanterns. For years I believed the Harper family disappeared because Mr. Grins chose them. Now I knew the truth. The Harper family disappeared because Emily Harper went looking for answers. And somewhere beyond the clearing, beyond the lanterns, beyond the forest itself, I had a feeling I was about to find the answer she found. I stood alone in the clearing. Emily's journal rested in my hands, while dozens of rusted lanterns swayed around me. The forest had become completely silent. No wind, no birds, no insects, nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing. For years I had followed the trail Mr. Grins left behind. Now, for the first time, I felt like I had reached the end of it. I opened Emily's journal one final time. There was one page I hadn't examined. The last page. The paper had been folded inward and stuck together. Carefully, I separated it. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, terrified. The entry was shorter than the others.
If anyone finds this...
A gap followed, as though she had stopped writing. Then,
Don't come looking for me.
the next line chilled me.
I wasn't taken.
My pulse quickened. I read the sentence again, then a third time. Not taken. The official investigation had been wrong from the beginning. The witnesses had been wrong. Even I had been wrong. Emily Harper had gone into Grinning Pines willingly. Whatever happened afterward, she had chosen to face it. I looked up from the journal. The lanterns were no longer moving. Every single one hung perfectly still. The clearing felt different, expectant. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Behind the stone marker stood a narrow path. Impossible. I had searched the clearing thoroughly. The path hadn't been there. Now it stretched between the trees, waiting. I followed it. The deeper I walked, the older the forest became. The trees grew massive. Their branches blocked the sky entirely. Soon the lanterns disappeared behind me. Only darkness remained. Then I saw the cave. Its entrance was hidden beneath exposed roots and stone. No map showed it. No reports mentioned it. Yet somehow I knew this was where Emily's trail ended. I stepped inside. The air felt cold, ancient. The flashlight beams swept across rough stone walls. Then it stopped. My breath caught in my throat. A lantern sat at the center of the chamber. Emily's lantern. Not the one from the cabin. Another, older. The glass was cracked, the metal blackened with age. Beside it rested human remains. I couldn't move. For several seconds I simply stared. The clothing had long since decayed. Time had reduced everything to bone. Yet a silver necklace remained around the neck. A small pendant. The same pendant shone in Emily Harper's photographs. The final Harper. The final file. After all these years, I had found her. Not beneath the cabin, not brought home. Exactly where her journey ended. I knelt beside the remains. For the first time since opening Ethan Harper's file, I felt something close to peace. The Harper family mystery was over. Ethan, Lily, David, Emily. All four had finally been found. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. The investigation team needed to know. Emily deserved to come home. My thumb moved toward the screen. Then I heard breathing.
Congratulations, Daniel.
My blood turned cold. I knew that voice. I had heard it through telephones, through recordings, through years of investigation. Never in person. The flashlight trembled in my hand. Slowly, I turned toward the sound. At first, I saw only darkness. Then 2 orange eyes appeared, glowing, unblinking. The figure stepped forward, tall, far taller than any normal man. Its limbs looked wrong. Too long, too thin. Its skin appeared stretched tightly over bone. Then I saw the smile. An impossibly wide grin split its face from ear to ear. Rows of yellow teeth filled the darkness. Not human, never human. The flashlight beam shook violently. For years I had searched for Mr. Grins. For years I had chased stories, evidence, whispers, and remains. Now he stood less than 10 feet away, watching me, smiling, waiting. Neither of us moved. The cave felt frozen in time. Then Mr. Grins tilted his head slightly, the same way a curious animal might, the same way something studies prey. His voice remained calm, almost friendly.
You finally asked the right question.
I couldn't speak. For the first time in years, I had no words. Only fear, real fear. The smile widened, somehow. Impossibly. Then he took one slow step forward. The flashlight slipped from my hand. Darkness swallowed the cave. The last thing I heard was Mr. Grins laughing, and then nothing.
Rain struck the windows of a small office. A woman sat alone behind a desk. Stacks of reports covered every available surface. Missing persons, cold cases, unsolved investigations. The woman opened a thick manila folder. Across the tab, black letters read, Case File 005, Daniel Mercer. Status, missing. Last known location, Grinning Pines Forest. The woman studied the photograph clipped to the front, Daniel Mercer, private investigator. Only known survivor of a Grinning Pines incident more than a decade earlier. Missing for 6 months. No remains recovered. No confirmed sightings. No explanation. She opened the file. The first page contained a handwritten note. Not part of the official investigation. Not part of any police report. A note someone had slipped inside. Elegant handwriting. Careful. Precise. The woman felt a chill run through her body as she read it. You're opening the right file. For several seconds she stared at the message. Then she looked at the name printed on her office door. Lauren Reed. Investigator. A sudden knock echoed through the office. Lauren slowly looked toward the door. No one stood outside. Then her phone began to ring. Unknown caller. The screen illuminated the dark office. Lauren hesitated, then answered. A calm voice spoke.
Hello, Lauren.
Case file 004. Closed. Case file 005. Open.
To everyone who has followed Daniel Mercer through the Harper investigations. Thank you. When this journey began, we were searching for answers. We wanted to know what happened to Ethan Harper, Lily Harper, David Harper, Emily, Harper. One by one, the Harper family came home. But as you've discovered, the truth was never as simple as a missing persons case. The Harper family didn't disappear because they were unlucky. They disappeared because one question became another. One answer led to another, and one family wandered too far into the darkness of Grinning Pines. I want to sincerely thank every one of you who listened, commented, shared your theories, and joined me on this journey. Watching this story grow has been an incredible experience, and your support has helped bring the world of the Grinning Files to life. Today, we close the Harper family chapter. Their story has finally been told. Their questions have finally been answered, and after years of silence, the Harper family can finally rest. But Grinning Pines is far from finished, because while the Harper files are now closed, one file remains open. Case File 005. Daniel Mercer. Somewhere beyond the lanterns, beyond the cave, beyond the last unanswered question, Daniel Mercer is still missing, and someone new has begun searching for him. Her name is Lauren Reed. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, keep the lights on, watch the tree line, and if you ever hear 3 slow whistles, don't answer the questions. This has been the Crooked Narrator.